Let me show you what fusion can do!
Bleach Rebirth of Souls just released a new story trailer that showcases some of the cinematics of the story mode. It doesn't go very far, but it shows somebody actually playing through the story mode, and it just goes through, you know, where Rukia actually transfers the Shinigami powers to Ichigo. And there's one battle that's thrown in there. It's a very quick, fast battle in this otherwise 25-minute some odd video. I'm not going to show everything over here, but I will show some of it while I'm talking about it. I am going to be as honest as I possibly can. This is my opinion, obviously. None of this is like factual if like somebody didn't get that, but I do want to say first and foremost that my biases tend to shine kinder on Bleach projects more than they probably should, and especially the fact that we haven't had a decent Bleach game outside of mobile since like the Soul Resurrection on PS3. There was a couple of Wii games and stuff like that, so it's been a while since we've actually had a good console Bleach game. So a lot of us Bleach fans are obviously clamoring for news and exciting information and gameplay. I've already talked about what I think about the gameplay in the past, so I'm going to try to just stick to the actual story mode content that they showcased here and not try to put in any kind of like guesswork or stuff like that. I'm just going to try to stick to what I observed, and we're going to discuss it and talk about it, and then we can talk about it in the comment section after. So obviously we all know this part of the story. This is the most basic part of the beginning of Bleach. It's Ichigo's origin, at least his origin point, start from where the story and the manga starts from. And there's nothing really spoilery or much to see here other than the fact that they're showcasing some of the cinematography and the cinematographics and you know, the stuff that's just involved with the story. If I'm going to say the most positive thing, it's that obviously it looks clean, which I would hope so, because it's like, you know, it's supposed to be in like 4K or whatever, but even though it's probably not going to get to those ranges without like some kind of frame drop and stuff like that, we're probably going to actually be seeing this as clean as this is presented because of YouTube compression and stuff like that, so it may actually be better on our actual TVs and monitors and whatnot. But this is expected for an anime game to like look like this, and if we're going with the classic tried and true mostly static in-game graphics represented conversations and story scenes and stuff like that. There's a lot of slow-mo that comes into this and some slowdown. There's a lot of idle standing, something akin to what you would see for like maybe the earlier Tenkaichi games, like Tenkaichi 2 or 3 for example. There's a lot of like characters standing at each other. There's a lot of weirdness that comes with this, like Ichigo for example, when he points at Rukia, instead of just pointing, obviously he's talking while he's pointing, and instead of doing just like a still frame, they have an idle animation which kind of looks like he's drunk because he's just like kind of like bobbing and weaving forward, which looks clean, but like obviously nobody moves like that in real life or in anime, let's be fair. So that was a little weird and a little jarring, but I'm used to that for anime games. The same with like hair blowing and stuff like that. It's obviously not going to be as natural as you would expect it to be, but this is an anime game. It does look clean, which is like the best thing I can say for it. And I do have some other criticisms as well, but I'm trying really hard not to be like overly harsh because it is a new Bleach game. And if we do, even if this game does decent, hopefully we get like another Bleach game, or hopefully like another studio can take over. I'm not saying this game's gonna be bad by any means. I haven't played it, I haven't got my hands on it. I'm not too fond of the battle system. It's like kind of like Smash like to a degree, with talking about like you can't actually weighing down health. I'd say it's more like Dissidia NT or something like that than Smash, but it's a similar kind of like health / shield based system when it comes to that. Without actual in-game transformations, it's like that's happening when you're at a certain point. So we already know the battle system. This is just about story. The characters look good and clean, like as expected. I'm not saying that the graphics in this game are bad by any means, but this is just like a type of story mode that we've seen done multiple times. And I would hope and expect that a studio would give us more animations and stuff like that in the actual cinematic cutscenes, especially when you take into consideration that besides the guy talking about the game and stuff, there was like 20 minutes of footage here with one battle. So if you're, and literally at one point in the video, he's sitting and eating, and gets like taken off guard by the battle actually starting and has to like stumble around for the controller really fast just so he can like get his hands in the action, which was a little funny and a little jarring at the same time, but there's a lot of idleness to this story mode, which is good because I'm not really a big fan of like QTEs and whatnot, but this is almost teetering on like Guilty Gear type story where it's like a lot of watching and not enough playing. And I do like beefy stories in my games, even anime games, but usually there's more to do. If this is indicative of just like the straight up how it's going to play out, like cinematics and then fights and cinematics and then fights, I may have more of an issue than if it had like some kind of roaming element to where you can actually run around and find items and break up some of the gameplay. Even if you're not like fighting people or anything like that, something akin to like how CC2 does, possibly like, you know, their original Storm 2 and 3, even that linear aspect like Demon Slayer, Hinokami Chronicles, something along the lines of that, just to actually have you playing the game more than watching the game. And I wouldn't normally mind if they weren't like completely, fully, beautifully animated like Guilty Gear tends to do with their stories. But when it comes to this, it's a lot of standing and talking and not even much camera movement when we're actually focused on the character who's talking. There's like a very slight tilt of the camera you can see. It's not a very like natural momentum, but it's a very slight like turn, like almost like it wants to go panoramic, but like it's being stilted, and that's fine also. But like I would like to see more facial expressions or even body expressions switching between them or whatnot. And I get that this is like an arena fighter, it's an anime fighting game, so it's like more so going to be about the actual fights and the gameplay than it is about the story or how they're telling the story. But when they actually got to the action sequences, it was a lot of like still frames, like let's imply what's happening rather than show you what's happening. So like when he's using the sword or stopping against the hollow, you see like just like a still image basically of like the energy coming off from the attack, and then it like kind of panoramically zooms into seeing him actually holding the sword against the hollow, which I would expect more clean, just like animations. Like this is something that like I had a problem with Sparking Zero also, when they just are doing like still frames and whatnot. It's like, just use the in-game engine and do cinematics. It's literally 2025. Like I expect a little bit more presentation and production value in my games that I'm paying $70+ for than just like a still shot that like we've been getting since we had like PS2. You know what I mean? And even they did a lot of things better on the PS2 for this. So that aside, I do like the way that it looks, I said before, but also one thing that was a little bit odd to me is it's not as clean cut into the action as you would expect it to be. A lot of like recent games, they'll show like a cinematic with the actual in-game cutscene, which is fine with using the in-game engine, and then it'll just like seamlessly go right into the actual battle. But this is almost like a cut. Like it's like the cinematic starts, and yes, it's the same exact engine, but it's like a pause, and then the health bars pop up, and then the battle starts. So it's like a 3-point pause. It seems more akin to like an early 2000s like YouTube like chop cut video than it does an actual like cinematically inclined into battle cinematic, you know what I mean? So like it's really, it's not bad, it's just like a little jarring, like when I've seen things done better before. And I get that this studio is like not super well known, but like still I expected a little bit more. The reason I'm being harsh is because like I want this game to do well. So I want people to go in there with honest expectations of the game and know what they're going to expect, instead of just like, you know, hyping up the game and, you know, rizzing it up and like telling everybody, like gassing everybody up that it's just going to be like the best thing ever, and then they go in there and get this kind of experience. And this may only be indicative of the beginning part of the cinematic, but that's all they showed us. So if we were shown something from later on, which would be like more cinematic, or like would actually like get us more involved in the actual story, or showed some kind of like side game or some kind of like, you know, roaming thing, or if they showed any other thing other than what they've shown, then I'd probably have more to go on. But all I have to go on obviously is this like 25-minute clip of somebody basically watching a movie and playing the game for about a minute, The battle was over like that. Ichigo started with 4 health bars, and the Hollow started with 2, and literally Ichigo just slashed until it broke, did 1 attack, and the Hollow was done. I get it's the first boss, or the first enemy, it's the first in-game encounter that we're going to have to get us familiarized with the battle system, and it'll probably be a little bit more of a tutorial later on as we go throughout the arcs, just to get us familiarized with the systems and whatnot. But I did feel a little, not depressed so much, just like a little like upset that we're not getting more. Like it's like it's been so long since we've had a Bleach game, and I really want this game to do well. I can't express that enough. I really want this game to do well. But if I'm being honest with you guys and being honest with myself about my opinion, I have to let these things known. Some of you may have been like perfectly fine with how it was presented, like what the production value was, like how much they actually put into the cinematics, and I applaud you for that. I'm happy that you got out of this what you wanted. I just hope that we see more before the game releases, because it's already, it's like almost, it's mid-January, so this game's coming out in 2 months. Yeah, it's coming out in March, so literally we have February and then the game's coming out. So I'm obviously the game's done, but I hope that they show more just to like get us in excited and enthralled. I get they don't want to like, that's the wrong place to go. I think it's just like weird that they're starting off with a weird spot, because it's like they're already telling us that it's only going up to like the Aizen arc. So even though like we're in the midst of watching like the 1,000 Year Blood War arc, which I get, they want the anime to be finished before they present that stuff in game. Naruto, the Storm series in the past, has made like non-canon endings so that they can actually like finish their games beforehand, but that's because their games were contracted to come out at certain times. So I get that. But the fact that it's starting with such like a negative vibe, that people already aren't crazy about the battle system, people already aren't crazy about the characters and content, because like it's only going up to the Aizen, like the Hueco Mundo arc, so it's only going to go up to hopefully Aizen with like Final Gatenshiro Ichigo hopefully being the last character. Not sure if there's going to be any movies or anything in this. It'll sell it for me more if we get some movies, like if we get some characters from like Memories of Nobody or Hellverse or something like that. But when it comes to these games, it doesn't seem like movies are often viewed in a more canon light, I guess I want to say. Though the last Ichigo that we did get was Skullclad Ichigo in the PS3 game. So hopefully we get some kind of content that's outside of the story like that, and I hope we do get some more interactivity within the story itself instead of just watching and then being surprised by a cinematic. Because I'd imagine a lot of people that already watched Bleach are probably going to skip the story, skip the cinematics if they have the option to go right into the fights. I'm going to watch it for the presentation anyway, but if I got bored within the first like 20 minutes of watching this video, I can only imagine what's going to feel like to play like a 20+ hour game. So hopefully they wow me with some better presentation, because they're already starting from like a negative spot in my opinion, and I do want to see this game succeed. So with that being said, I'm probably going to bring this video to an end, but I want to hear from you in the comment section down below. Like, what did you think about this 25-minute trailer of gameplay that they actually showed? Are you excited about it? Did this bring you back a little bit, or did it hype you up even more? I'm curious to know what you guys have to say in the comments down below, or on the Discord, which the link is in the description box down below. So we're probably gonna just like finish that here and leave it on an end cap so we can talk about it and discuss it later. But you have my thoughts, just now I want to hear from you. And as I always say, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Ivy Valentine subscribes to Mark Yoon. So should you. Enjoy your treat!